keepers of the flame. I am your knight commander, and I am here by the grace of God. Are my keepers of the flame by the grace of God. I am grateful for your presence, not only in the universe, but here and now, for we have the promised tryst in this heart now fulfilled. Is it not a wondrous thing to be kissed by angels and to meet again?
Yes!
Knights and ladies of the flame, children of the light, won't you be seated in my heart? I have heard all of these deliberations. I have kept counsel with your messenger and her aids. I have seen the light and directed its beam from the farthest star, and the sheen of crystal that yet glows in the heart of the royal Teton. And I tell you, I am well pleased. Peace then in your heart, beloved, peace in your soul. For thus far have we conquered, and thus far is the goal. And we are on schedule, and would prefer to be ahead of schedule. Therefore, in these points of the law we agree, and we realize that it is the season for a heavenly and an earthly alchemy. You may remember when the archangel sent forth the word that we would keep the flame of the mother house in Santa Barbara until its purpose should be fulfilled. And one key purpose of that house was to keep a light, so that the darkness gathering in San Francisco and Los Angeles should not meet midpoint on that coast and cause cataclysm. Therefore, our witnesses, with determined keepers of the flame, set on the map the tiny pyramid of light in the secret ray chakra of that ancient city, and therefore the darkness has not passed either from north to south or south to north. Subsequently, with the messenger's ascension and the expansion by his heart of the gathering of forces, I sent forth the call for the teaching centers and the amethyst jewels, and therefore strong focuses have been established in San Francisco and in Los Angeles, holding the balance against a mounting karma and a mounting disturbance in elemental life due to man's inhumanity to man. Nevertheless, we have seen that though the light has been kept, There also has come a judgment on that city and the neighboring Ojai, where there are ancient records of great darkness as well as great light. And at inner levels there has been a certain rejection of the very person of our messenger. Weighing all things in the balance, we see that there has been a fulfillment of cosmic cycles within that property, and we are therefore ready for the very alchemy of which the messenger has spoken, the drawing of the light from that property and its consecration to the building of a new and a more useful place where all of you may come and realize that here at the heart of the inner retreat and there in the outer ranch, you have a greater need for a mother house than you now have individually for a mother house in Santa Barbara. Is it not so?
Yes.
And so we must say that we too must not be idolatrous and cling to our old shrines. It is true Lanello has walked there, but then, is there any place on earth where he has not walked? And can he not transfer his force field where'er he like? I think so. Therefore, let us decree for the logical conclusion of the matter and the sealing of that chakra and the holding of the balance for civilization and the coast in our more developed center at Camelot and in Los Angeles and in the other teaching centers along that spine of the West, stronghold of our light. I desire to make known to you and to develop a certain concept that has been touched upon, and it is this, that in the transferring of the force fields of the cities and of the nations, you may therefore keep the flame for those areas of your former service and of your present karma here at the inner retreat. It is our desire, and therefore it is very much in the heart of the Mother to see not one but numerous focuses established which will enshrine both the present and the ancient force fields of the devotees. We would even see a center modeled upon the temple of Lemuria where the mother flame was kept. You see, our University of the Spirit has many branches, even as the colleges and universities in the world today, and some have entirely separate campuses for their areas of concentration and development. Therefore, in each of the branches of the pursuit of life and the unfoldment of the 7 rays in the consciousness of the new race, we may so dedicate not only the center, but its architecture, its discipline, the inclination of its devotees to one of the major points of past and present attainment. Therefore, when and if it should become necessary to withdraw other teaching centers of other cities and to reproduce their function and their service and even to call their members to this place, let it be with a full understanding that we expect the focuses of the chakras of the earth, such as that of Washington, D.C., and its mighty citadel of God government, to be represented here in all levels, in the levels of the mind and in the levels of the soul, in learning, in understanding, and in keeping the flame to which that city or center has long been dedicated by the Great White Brotherhood. We envision this place, as Serapis alluded to, as the point to which many devotees bring, the flame which they have kept. Inasmuch as each of you is a keeper of the flame, you ought to examine that which has been and is of worth in your mastery, service, profession, and sacred labor wherever you are. What are your roots? What is the origin of your heritage and culture? What will you bear in your hand as sacred labor, as the carpenter of Nazareth? You have yet time to perfect a skill, to assemble the research for your library, to realize that when you come here, you cannot simply go down the street to the New York Public Library or the Museum of Los Angeles to find some missing piece of information and research or a point of artwork that you may need. And therefore, it is a time to collect things, and it is a time to take other things to those sales where you may unburden yourself of such articles and objects and books that have no intrinsic worth and no need of preservation. I was with the messenger as she gave to Summit University some of the old teachings of Nicholas Roerich, who was inspired by me and El Moria to contemplate the Museum of Art and the Roerich Peace Pact. He worked with us for peace and understanding of the nations, and also to preserve the art treasures of ancient Tibet and the works of his own hand inspired by us. Thus, as impractical as it may seem, the thought form for a museum of the treasures of the world's great spiritual art, as well as the pragmatic art of Western and Eastern civilization, is already in the ethers. Some of the objects that are in the collection of the Vicar of Christ in this organization, such as statues of Buddhas and delicate china of Czechoslovakia and so forth, that have been brought by devotees, are shrines in themselves, fully capable of carrying a flame. They ought not to be anywhere but in this museum of the Spirit, whereas you pause before each focus, you contact a spirit of art, the causal body of masters of bygone years, and that meditation, which may become a decree spoken aloud before that particular object and display, serves for the training of the eye of children, for their education, and for their souls drawing forth of the next step in the creation of art itself, or science, or whatever subject matter leads the soul to a new definition in the field of knowledge. Without the building blocks of past civilizations, how can the new be born? Earth is not a vacuum, and we are not in its pristine state. Earth is old by comparison, and beloved hearts, the collective evolution and knowledge, the beauty, the learning, ought not to be lost. Why, beloved hearts, if it were left to the people of this state alone, very little of the world's heritage would be preserved here, except perhaps in those centers of learning where many have come from other parts. And therefore you can see that there can develop in a people a certain satisfaction with their environment and a simple daily life devoid of an accelerating momentum. Thus we are lovers of culture, and in all of our ancient monasteries we have sought to preserve that cultivation of light through the 7 chakras and the 5 secret rays. Many souls will be born here who have built a mighty foundation already. They deserve to have access to, even in their younger years, those very things, traditions, and assemblies of knowledge which they themselves have builded. Thus only if they can contact these things as school children can they rise in the true genius of inventiveness and carry the age a step forward. Thus I look at your eager hearts, and all of you who love God and love life, for you who do must automatically love children and feel in your being what a wonderful contribution you can make to the child between the years of 1 and 7, and then 7 and 14, the most important years of exposure to the state of the art in any field, to invention and especially computer technology, satellite communication, and all of these things which when used properly can advance the God consciousness of a people, and when used improperly can make them to enter the depths of grossness, of idolatry, and the destruction of the whole man. Thus the guarding of the secrets of knowledge is the trust of priests and priestesses of the sacred fire. And now you can understand why the culmination of thousands of years of civilization should be the seventh ray itself. For the scientist on the seventh ray is truly the priest at the altar of the sacred fire. Only by the art of alchemy, only by the violet flame, and much, much more, can that which is given be raised to that point of the fire of the Christ, where materialism itself does not drag down the soul and encase it in a tomb of death, but rather materialism, being the mater realization of the God flame, the mother realization and internalization of light, is there to exalt the soul and literally sweep it up, that it might be caught into the arms of the Divine Father. Thus we build for a spiritual building, and not as the Nimrods of old. The competitive nature of civilization, having its goal in and of itself and no farther beyond, does not advance, but rather detracts from the forward progress of the light of the man-child. Once upon a time in Lemuria, the people understood the balance of fire, of spiritual things, the reality of the heart, and the tangibility of the concrete world. As you may well realize, in some inner understanding that you have of day-to-day life and the balance that is necessary, you can imagine how easy it would be to lose the sense of the spirit itself being the flame within the matter bowl. After all, when the flame becomes invisible to some, and yet they see the machine moving on, it continues to operate. The human body as a machine functions, and so do the computers and the scientific inventions of the day. It is easy to conclude that once a physical creation is sealed, there is no need for the spiritual fire. And thus, believe it or not, the balance of such a civilization of a golden age can literally be lost in moments of descent that are experienced simultaneously as individuals become distracted by outer things and phenomena. We therefore have directed you to first cause, and cause is behind the matter form, to your soul, to your spirit, to the solar fire of your heart. We have guided you to come apart, to rest your eyes from all of the psychic and physical phenomena of the world, to rest your senses and your ears. See how quickly you become aware of the absence of civilization, and in one sense, desire to return. But if you pause for a moment and ask yourself, what will I have there that I do not have here? You will discover that most things that you have are human habit, things that you think you need, and that you do need once you enter the roller coaster of outer civilization. It's like the old story, all for a rag. The necessity of the accoutrements of life for the sustaining of the simple cloth of the yogi. Thus, once you enter the workaday world, many requirements are upon you, and then all things become necessary, and it is as though you are in a place where everything is offered to you, the food of the world, the prizes of the world. And are you the saint that goes and sprinkles holy water everywhere, refusing to partake of it, and suddenly the whole of it disappears, and you find yourself once again self-satisfied in God? Well, in this land itself, for the moment, it has all disappeared, and you see only a few tents and what has been brought from without. It is good to rest the soul. It is good to rest the mind. And it is also good to realize that I also appreciate civilization in the highest sense. For after all, my work in my final embodiment as Francis Bacon did bring to the world the opening of all of this innovation. And I did lay the foundation for a golden age which would include every possible amenity and invention to enhance men's self-awareness and perception of life. Think not that I am down on civilization, but I must say that the world has brought our age of inventiveness down until so much of matter is burdened by sensuality and godlessness and idolatry and blasphemy and desecration of the mother light and the sacred fire, that it is difficult not to associate the walls of the buildings themselves with the murders that are committed on the sidewalks without. Therefore, we understand why the scientist must be priest and the priest must be scientist. Why the devotee must have a labor that is only worthwhile if it is sacred unto God. Why the goal must be defined. Why you must know that the calling for the miracle from my heart will not be withheld when you call for it to the glory of God and not your own self-satisfaction. Therefore, let us see what we may work together. El Moria and I are concerned with the dates. We have been asked by your messenger to sponsor Glastonbury North and Glastonbury South. We accept the messenger's call, as she has asked El Moria to preside on the side of the north as the one who represents Alpha, the Father, the Guru, the will of God. while I on the south, representing the seventh ray and omega, therefore will represent the flame of the building, of the science, of the invention. This is not to say that one side will have one thing exclusively and the other another. But we as patrons, Thomas More and Francis Bacon, will bring to both as one our dreams of the new order and of the utopia and of all things that a people working together can do. The first ray is not complete without the seventh, nor the seventh without the first. And thus, we have made only one condition to our sponsorship, and that is that first and foremost, each site shall be dedicated to the Blessed Mother, Mary, to her love, to her cathedral of Glastonbury, to her shrine, and to her keeping the vigil for these little ones. Thus together we dedicate to the purpose of the Holy Family and the community these places set aside and dedicated through the heart of Edward to your own heart, selflessly and therefore purely and therefore victoriously. May you then know that we do indeed see a future there. And as it has been said to our messenger, in these long months of her keeping the flame with the staff of the ranch, we cannot truly move forward in light or vibration in this area until there are set here 1,000 chelas of the will of God, both within the staff and in the Glastonbury community. Therefore, look ahead and look to the opportunities even now being prepared in Livingston and Bozeman for blessed hearts to maintain a spiritual center such as this, as large and all-comprehensive in time and space. It does require many tall pines, and the adversity itself, whether political or religious or through the media, will be neutralized when 1,000 devotees keep daily the watch upon the wall of the Lord. Sometimes our staff have been bowed down. Here, as 50 and less have attempted to keep the light against the forces of the Amorites and all of those companies who have thought that the land was theirs. Now then, as you have come together, your light has penetrated their stronghold. They are somewhat subdued. But on the morrow, as some return to their homes, they will be emboldened once again. We must say that as they become privy to the news of New Glastonbury, they will not be altogether entertained by it. Thus I ask you to realize that the land is yours to claim, to defend, there to sing sweet lullabies to your own. The cradle of the heart. It is a large cradle. Many thousands can fit into this area. Will it not be magnificent when the anthems of all the nations as their flags will be sung and held here? When the great gathering of the devotees out of the East and of the Ancient of Days. We have held the concept of the United Kingdom. We have held the concept of a United Nations, though not as the one has been formed. But this is the place where, coming out of each nation, the anointed ones may see the light. It is prophesied that people of all kindreds and tongues and the races of the earth shall come before the throne of the Lamb. From our level, we also must say, is not our God amazing? Yes. And all these things that have been coming such a long, long time. And for you to pluck the fruit from the tree ripened, a tree you have not planted, yet from which you shall eat in joy. I therefore summon you to my heart to dip into its fires, to intensify your own. And I place there my longing, may it be your longing all of this year, to go and fetch 5 more unto yourself, who are there, just as lovely and pure as you are, who need this teaching, who must hear it and have it. As I gave comfort to our messenger in the relinquishing of the focus in Santa Barbara, I said, it is very simple. Our students may go stumping to Santa Barbara and to its university campus every year and do as much for that city as though to leave a building there. Therefore, when you have a resource, use it wisely and let our teams go forth. We do not desire to see the doors on the ark close and leave out one of these little ones who ought to be a part of the world's turning. Go and find them. Go and find them. Claim them for God. Give them the gift of your heart. You have not yet seen what expansion will come forth as the result of this purchase and this victory. The great central sun magnet is hereby focused beneath the earth of this heart, and so builded and so reinforced by elemental life in the course of your giving of these decrees. And yet the focus has been here for longer than I can even tell you. Yet the activation of the focus could not come unless hearts, magnetized and magnetically charged, magnetizing the light, should appear. Thus it is always man who must respond to God and confirm the mighty secrets that are hid in the earth. How great is opportunity. May you visualize a great sun disk beneath this earth, centering in the entire heart, a blazing electrode of light, in and of itself, the electrode that magnetizes the flame of Shambhala in the etheric octave and of Lord Gautama Buddha. May you realize that your trek to the heart is both to charge the focus with your causal body and to be magnetically charged by it. Without hurting your feet, I would suggest that before you leave, you remove your shoes and place the precious feet without any covering on the very bare earth and grass, and meditate upon the currents of the great sun disk. The power of this magnet could only be sustained by the presence of many surrounding mountains, forests, and nature. Therefore, guard the heart, guard the inner retreat, and call for the protection of the national forests and sanctuaries that are nearby. For all of this is God's country, and secured long before your coming to His purposes and His usefulness. Indeed, there is the need for the community of Glastonbury, for souls to stand guard to see that no power, political or otherwise, should in any way interfere with the guarding of this magnet. For this force field, beloved ones, though it may be a bit hard for you to comprehend, is our designated focal point for the holding of balance of earth changes on the entire planet. We have no other place so secluded, so far away from the cities, yet so accessible and usable. We have no other group of devotees of the numbers of this organization so consecrated on the single wavelength of the mighty I Am Presence, the sacred fire, and the violet flame. There may be other organizations and other gurus and even similar teachings, but I tell you, strife and discord and rivalry and fragmentation have entered, and therefore, with malicious gossip and vying for power, these organizations are no longer a fitting vessel for so high a light. The Goddess of Liberty has given to every one of you a great gift, and those who have it in this activity therefore have a spirit of harmony, of truth, of faith, of oneness. We welcome the adversary and the beast out of whose mouth the blasphemies are spoken. For we have seen the testing of the mettle of our students. We have seen you strengthened. We have seen our messenger strengthened. And we have seen that with this testing you have stayed and still stayed. Our staff has sent most of you all of the rubbish that has been printed, all of the collection of gossip. Nothing has been hidden, and any answers that you have sought have also been given. All have been free to choose, and those who have left have never been challenged. They have been free to follow the liar and his lie, as you have. I tell you, beloved hearts, the momentum of Antichrist behind this attack of recent years has been entirely to stop this event of the gathering of your souls on this platform of this disk of light, that I might come and speak to you and give to you the glorious vision of the sun and of your future and of your personal ascension from these very hillsides. Thus the testing must come. And when initiation is intense and darkness precedes the precipitation of a physical victory, you may know that the necessary thinning takes place, and those who remain are the ones who are goal-fitted. The process will continue. It will never stop. Some have left simply because they have lost the warmth of the love of the ascended masters. A simple loss of interest, which is the sign that they could not keep our flame in the heart, and we were not allowed to give any more infusions of our light. Staying power is the measure of self-mastery, and thus we stand behind this messenger, behind her co-workers, behind you, our chelas, and we will never let you down as you never let us down. We hear every call and affirmation, and those answers that are forthcoming are those which the great law dictates according to the cosmic cycles. Let each one outplay the inner coils of being, for that is what the path is all about. Sometimes the presence of the lie in the human octave allows the followers of truth to enhance that truth, to seek to define themselves and their teaching with a greater crystal clarity. Thus, as we have always said, we are grateful for the ground upon which our enemies have walked, for thereby we have taken our victory. Let us understand that it is not necessary to attain the physical ascension, and that our dispensation concerns itself with the victory of the soul and the building of the deathless solar body. Let us realize that perfection is of the heart, and that your souls may enter the octaves of light in various ways and moments, and the rejoicing of the divine union will come to those who perceive a spiritual resurrection that may or may not include the physical body. We operate under laws affecting this evolution and this planet, and therefore take heed that you set your goal upon the perfecting of the heart rather than the flesh. For indeed, as the Apostle Paul, who joins me now, has said, flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of heaven, and this mortal must put on immortality. I am the sponsor of the nations, and I will be with you in the march of the nations. Let it be the march of the priests, scientists, and of the devotees of life. And let all remember just what it takes to wrestle with the snakes. In the light of the serpent fire raised up in the wilderness by Moses, I raise up the mother light in your midst. I raise up a fire unto God. I raise up in the wilderness that light that will draw you to the secret place of the Most High. I, Saint-Germain, dedicate in this hour the heart of the inner retreat to the heart of every son of God on earth and all who will embody for the following of the path of the heart and I anoint our messenger for the accelerated teaching of the path of the heart. May you enter by the heart. May you pass through her heart. May you come to the heart of your own I am presence. And may you know that in this octave, Sanat Kumara lives by her heart and by her presence. And we occupy this temple that you might make yourselves ready for the occupation of Christ in your temple, fully, holy, and bodily. Let therefore be then the true and just judgment, for flesh and blood are not the standard of the presence of the messenger, but the word itself stands alone and stands ready to consume all else where she is. In the glory of the light and not the glory of the outer person, I am Saint-Germain, yet that light shining through does emit the glory even upon the four lower bodies. May it be unto you also that the flame that ignites the matter bowl will light your whole house until all is consumed, assimilated and integrated, and you are standing one, spirit, matter, God, free being. I declare you to be one sphere, spirit, matter, where you are, and thus no more the definitions that separate the human and the divine, but the God flame swallowing up and yet defining the crystal that must always be in every octave, the chalice of identity. I am Saint-Germain. I am thy chalice. Most beloved disciples of our Lord, I am here in the witness of the great light of the Aquarian age, and I am privileged to speak to you at the conclusion of the messages of the Chohans. In the divine office of apostle, as he gave to me, and in the gift of healing of the Holy Spirit, also upon me, in my embodiment as Illarion, I have asked to come as the servant of your soul, to minister unto you Holy Communion. I was not there at the Last Supper, and therefore, by direct commission from our Lord, he called me to do all those things which he gave to do unto his own, and then more. For truly I am called for the conversion of the world. Therefore, my beloved, I plant my flame in this heart for the drawing of those multitudes that have come to be the recipients of the message and the teaching of Christ. through the heart flames of the I Am race. For it is an hour of opportunity when by the heart of the embodied Christ there may be ignited other heart flames to serve the Lord. By the gift of His body and His blood I come. I come on the wavelength of healing, of truth and science, and of the witness, for the messengers serve on the fifth ray, and therefore our truth is all-consuming. Of all of the 7 rays, I must tell you that your very stance, your very positioning for light makes you as flowers upheld by the green stalk of our fire. I communicate then to you by heart and by my life, which you may study in the Scriptures itself. But I must tell you that the intimate communion which I had with the Lord Christ, this I could not write about. Truly it was a dispensation of the ascended Master Jesus Christ, moving with me and through me, as His disciple and apostle and messenger, for a quickened faith and a live and a moving religion, whose witness was the power of conversion itself, and the miracle of His heart is yet the miracle of my own. And you will see the power of the apostle as the divine office which you may call forth from my heart. For this power of conversion is truly the sign of the presence of the great white brotherhood in your midst. The completeness of your hearts with our own is truly this presence which was there again and again and again as the people had the confirmation in their hearts of the witness, mind you, not of the flesh and blood Jesus, but of the ascended Master Jesus Christ. And the early church grew and it thrived, not because they saw Him, but because in the absence of seeing, the overpowering presence of His Spirit was able to perform a wonder that was not altogether possible while He Himself went through the period of the crucifixion and the judgment thereby of the watchers. Therefore, beloved hearts, how much greater is the opportunity with the ascended Master Jesus Christ, beloved Lanello, beloved Saint-Germain, in the midst of your witness, than it was even in their physical embodiment. For the movement surrounding Saint-Germain did not swell till he ascended. And thus you see, El Moria also, dying the martyr, is born again in a greater and greater movement because he is the ascended Master. Therefore the Chohans have come to teach. They have come into your midst, and you have received us as real and living and tangible beings. This same power is upon those throughout the world to whom you give witness of this extraordinary event. I myself would break with you now the bread of life, for this communion is blessed and charged by the body and the blood of the 7 Chohans, that you might realize that in the forward movement of the ages, we now may give the Alpha and the Omega of our beings, that you might assimilate the 7 vibrations of the 7 Chohans and begin to be that magnet in the world for us to appear to our own, even as you have the magnet here to draw the divine purposes of the Godhead to this place. Thus the Church is ever the living witness, and you are the Church as you are true and honorable to its precepts as a bride before the altar and before her husband. By the light of Sanat Kumara we serve. He has sent us forth uniquely, for he has said, "You are the ones closest to my own. Let them assimilate your body and your blood, that they might approach me nearer and dearer, clarified, purified, rarefied." Thus, beloved hearts, we move with the dove to the center of the heart of the Mahachohan. May you be his offering upon the altar of the Ancient of Days. May you return in another year to see how you have gained and how the coat that you wear is more fully colored by the balanced 7 rays. As you come forward then, drink ye all of it, for we give you our all in gratitude for your love. I am the sealing of this conference and the sealing of this light, and I remain always your beloved Illarion. You may call me Paul.